Have you ever wanted to make your own hot sauce? Yeah, this stuff put on tacos, burritos, eggs. This one here is one that we make. This one happens to be Pineapple Habanero. We're going to be making that in today's video. So we got a whole host of things here. The heat is going to come from habaneros and some serrano peppers. But I'm also going to add, because of the color and the flavor, bell peppers, both orange and red, to get the color. And then I'm also going to add 2 apples and a whole pineapple. So if you want to see how we make this Pineapple Habanero hot sauce, fermented in a crock, the crock we're using here, and over the course of a couple of months, then we're going to get this beautiful, high flavored hot sauce that you can enjoy on any of the food that you prefer to put salsa, hot sauce, anything like that on. Eggs, tacos, burritos, pizza. So stay tuned and we'll show you how we make our hot sauce. Okay, so as I'm doing this, going into the crock pot, I don't want to puree this just yet. I want to leave them in pretty big chunks because I have some weights that are going to go in here and hold everything below the brine. The brine that I'm going to be using is a 4% salt water mix. This is kosher salt. There is no iodine in here. And I've already started that so I can continue to break down the salt while I am prepping all of the peppers. But I do want the brine to get to everywhere around the peppers that are in the crock. And I don't want to leave air pockets. So you're going to see me cut these down pretty good. So if this were to go in there and it sits in the water like this, or the brine, it's going to, trap air right here. So we definitely don't want to do that. So I'm going to cut all these down. And this little white part here can get a little bitter. So I'm going to take that off as well. But we're talking, 1-inch chunks. And just making sure that I can minimize any air pockets that could potentially form in there. And I'm going to build this up in layers. So right now I'm doing a bell pepper. I'm probably going to do about 1 inch or 2 inches in the bottom. And then move on to probably habaneros. Do a layer of habaneros, back to a layer of peppers, bell peppers, or serranos. And then on top of all of those, I'm going to start adding in the apples. I have my pineapple behind me. Oh no, I don't. It's right here. And then another layer of pepper, so on and so on. You can leave the seeds in if you want. I prefer not to. But if a couple get in there, no big deal. You're going to strain it out later anyway. Be honest, you don't have to be really particular about this. Pretty much just get the peppers in. get these all chopped up. And be back with you in a little bit. Okay, for this batch, I'm using 15 habaneros. I do want it spicy, but I also don't want this white pith or membrane. Or at least not as much as I can. Now I know there's a lot of heat there, so I do want to keep some of it. But I don't want all of it. I really want a lot of flavor from the pepper. And if you have an intolerance to hot peppers, you definitely want to wear gloves. And if you like the flavor, but you don't like the heat from the habanero, you can look up a pepper called a habanada. So habanero, but no heat. The seeds that I got them from Baker Creek. They have all of the flavor and really none of the heat. All right, this one's got a really big line on this one. So if you can see, you've got the flesh of the pepper here, and you got the little white membrane, and then you got this gold line right here. That's the heat. So if you don't want all the heat, take that little gold line off. Now, like I said, this is hot sauce. I want it to be hot. So for the most part, I'm trying to leave that on there, but yet try to get this extra little white piece off there. You don't have to get the white part off. You can leave it in there. Okay, so I've got everything in the crock. These ceramic weights are not quite big enough because I don't have enough to fill all the way to the top of the crock. If they were, they'd fit right in here underneath this lid and they would fit just fine. But because they're not quite big enough to cover all of the stuff inside, I put in the silicone mat that's got holes in it. It's going to let all the CO2 come out, but it will hold everything else underneath of the brine. So I'm going to get ready. I'll pour in the brine, and we're going to go all the way over the top of this. And in fact, I'm going to be, maybe an inch or two on the side here from the top. So that's going to give me an extra 2 inches or so of brine inside the crock here to make sure everything inside stays under the brine. That's very important. You don't want to get mold, so make sure everything stays under the brine. And remember, the brine is 4% salt. I might have to make another jar, but it's 4% salt. So if you have 1,000 grams of water, you need 40 grams of salt. And I am going to need a little bit more. I've got the brine in. I'm not really sure if you can see the water line here, but the water line's all the way up here. We probably have about 1.5 inches. So there I'm just touching the water. And I got probably about 1.5 inches. Let's see how deep that is. So it goes up to this knuckle. So about 1.5 inches brine on top of everything that's in there. So this is a water lock. It's gonna keep any pests or oxygen from going backwards down into the actual crock itself. There's a couple of little holes here that's gonna allow the CO2 to come out as this ferments. But I am gonna fill this up with brine as well. I don't typically want to do just regular water, so I'm going to make this brine here is about 8% saltwater brine. So I'm going to go ahead and pour it in here. We don't need a lot. We need just enough to get up over the top of this little hole on the side here. Okay. So there we go. We got the water in place. So nothing's going down in, and once the fermentation start to take place, the CO2 is going to replace the oxygen. Everything is going to get pushed out. We'll start to see some bubbles every so often here, and then as that slows down and it stops, that's when you know the fermentation is done. Then we can take this out and strain it, puree it, and then within that puree we'll add some of the actual brine back into it to make it this nice liquid. We may end up having to add a little bit of xantham gum to keep it from separating if that's something that you don't like. Otherwise, if it sits on the shelf, you'll have all the sediment come down here and you'll have a little bit of brine left. Just shake it up and then it looks like hot sauce again. But if you don't want that little xanthan gum, it'll stay like this all the time. So we're gonna get this set on the counter behind me, and then we'll check in probably 30 days from now to see kind of how we're making progress. The whole time we're gonna keep a monitor, or we're going to watch this water to make sure we always have it over the top of this little weep hole, and we'll let this thing ferment and come up. It's going to be about a month or so. The hot sauce has been fermenting for about 22 days and it's getting pretty close to being done. I don't see any bubbles from the CO2. It's not fermenting anymore. I have a little bit of salt residue here because I used salt brine here as well at 8%, and then inside was 4% for the actual brine process of the ingredients. So let's go ahead and open this up, see what we got. Oh yeah. Smells great. It's going to be hot, but as you can see, we have no mold in here, nothing floating around. We got one little piece of onion right there, but it is below the brine and it appears to be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and take this out, get it tested for the pH, make sure that we're going to be under 3.4. That's where I like my hot sauce, so it's very shelf stable. So I've got my I've got my pH tester right here. So we're gonna get this all tested up and see where we're at. Here we have the hot sauce. We're gonna get poured into our bottle. There you have it. Hot sauce is done in a bottle. I'm going to be giving this one away. It's a guy's birthday tomorrow. I'm going to give him a big old bottle of hot sauce. This is the Pineapple Habanero hot sauce that we make. It's got enough heat on it that you know it's there, but it also doesn't last a long time, so you can enjoy whatever food you put it on. So, thanks for watching.